What's up, everybody, DawgNation? I'm Jeff Sentell. It is Wednesday night. It is time for Before the Hedges on DawgNation. And guys, lend me your ears, my friends. If you're on this feed right now, I wish I could sound like one of those favorite talk show hosts and say, everybody that's on this feed right now gets a brand new car and look in your email box. But I'm going to tell you this. This is some interactive Before the Hedges Wednesday night live tonight. David Zonia, Johnson Garner, Philip Overstreet. You're the first names I'm seeing. But I want you to do this. Let's try this because we are trying something that is a first in the history of DawgNation.com. I'm sure you guys are near a computer. I'm sure you guys are near your phone or tablet or however you're browsing and watching Wednesday Night Live tonight. I want you guys to go to the DawgNation homepage. And it's not because we're trying to get some clicks or some page views or some website traffic or anything else like that. We have found a way to take this program, which appears on YouTube, which appears on Facebook, which is now appearing on, I think, Twitter and Twitch and lots of other platforms as well. But it's now streaming live to the DawgNation homepage. So let me tell you this. I want to do this. I want it. Everybody go take a look. Everybody go take a look. And the first person that chimes back and says, "Hey, Jeff, I know what you're talking about. Pretty stinking cool, or cooler than a quick self-checkout line at Kroger where skies are wide open." But I want you to check it out. I want you to see what's going on. For the first time, we are streaming live to the DawgNation homepage. And I see it right there. I see it right there. I see some guy with a wet head, it looks like, just sitting there talking. Jermaine King, I was just doing a test. If you go to DawgNation.com right now for the first time ever in the history of this program and the history of any DawgNation program, gulp, let's all cross our fingers here. We're streaming live to the DawgNation homepage. That's DawgNation.com. I don't know if that's a big deal for you guys, but it's kind of a big deal for us because that's the first time we've ever tried it. We've kind of figured out a way to build a bigger, better battleship, a bigger, better mousetrap, so to speak, so we can stream live right on our homepage. So it's another place where you guys can find us for the latest on Wednesday night. Connor's in coverage on Tuesday nights. Mike's on the Beat Show, Pete Ellis. So now if you're hanging out from Flowery Branch, Georgia, you can sit there and go to DawgNation.com to keep up with everything as well. And we won't be able to give anybody any top fan status or anything else like that. But I think that's pretty stinking cool. Tonight's show, if you've read your headline, is got a chance to speak to Carlton Madden Jr. That's the Cedar Grove edge defender out of Ellenwood, Georgia. I got to visit him at his practice yesterday. Always lots of guys at Cedar Grove High School. Guys, let me tell you how uncommon this is. I think there's probably 12 guys that play defense for Cedar Grove High School that I will see signing a college scholarship. That's pretty big. But, in the 2022 class, there's Carlton Madden. It's about 6'3", about 240 pounds, 6'3 and a half, and about 240 pounds. He has basically transformed himself. Really great story there for Carlton Madden. We're going to have a good little chat with him coming up in just like in a minute or two on this program. But I just want to set this up. Was Carlton Madden, he transferred from Arabia Mountain to Cedar Grove last fall, and he did not get the chance to play because of he was ruled it wasn't a bona fide move. So basically all he got to play was in one. So you have to go all the way back to September of 2019 to find the last time that he made a big-time highlight play in a high school game. He weighed about 175 pounds then, he told me. You got to laugh about something like that, about especially how radically he's changed his body. He's turned himself into quite the prospect, quite the target. I think he told me, there's a difference, guys. There's a difference between you get the offer, and it's basically a starter kit offer to start the recruiting relationship, and sometimes you feel like you're getting recruited 95 miles an hour, or 55 miles an hour. And that would be kind of the slow play offer where none of these kids feel like they're a priority. Well, Carlton Madden tells me he feels like he's being recruited 95 miles per hour by the University of Georgia. That's the big kind of main entree on our show tonight. We're going to do a few things. We're going to go through all the staples, all the food groups. We're going to go top targets. We're going to go take a look at, some commitment timelines coming up. Had a couple commitments since our last show that kind of cleans out the board a little bit, or at least tidies up the board a little bit. Lots to share, lots to talk to you guys about here on the program tonight. Also, I'm going to do something a little bit later in our show, and I'm going to go through. Everybody likes raise your hands online if you guys like to play over-unders. You guys like to do your type of sports entertainment over-unders. I'm going to do some over-unders with the Georgia recruiting class to kind of see where I think things are going to go, but also where you guys also think and expect things to go. So we got a pretty packed show, pretty loaded show. You guys, as always, this show is brought to you by those fine folks at Kroger. I think you'll find that in the bottom corner of your screen. You'll now find it on the DawgNation homepage as well. Pretty stinking cool, but on all things today with Before the Hedges, we're going to have top targets. We're going to have online chatter. We're going to have a lot of things to get into and have fun. But right now, you guys want to hear from Carlton Madden Jr., CJ Madden Jr., that's the young man I will always remember as a guy that ate, 4 or 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day for about 4 or 5 months in order to change himself from a 205-pound, mid-tier Power 5 prospect to now a guy that is kind of coveted and wanted by the University of Georgia. If you guys want to hear from CJ Madden, you want to know what's going on with CJ Madden, let's take a look right here on DawgNation.com's Before the Hedges. I guess you've went through a bunch of June visits and you've set a September the 18th. Mm-hmm. That's the South Carolina game. Do you know that? So that's a chance for, if it's potentially Georgia, you could show up in the middle of the stadium as a commitment, I guess. Right. If it's somewhere else, you might be at Ole Miss, you might be at Colorado, you might be at Washington State. I think I've got all those schools. Where do you think you're at right now? Do you think you have enough to make a final decision since you've set your date?
I think I'll probably wait it out to the end of July. I'm going to visit a couple schools and then open back up this month. And by the time then, I think I'll be ready to roll my decision.
Do you ever see yourself making a silent commitment to hold a spot or anything like that? Is that something that's crossed your mind?
It has, but I really think I probably won't. But things might change, so I might. It just depends on whatever.
What's the feeling right now you have about Georgia? I know the last visit was a great visit. You got to try on everything.
Definitely.
What was that like for you?
I definitely like Georgia. I like the opportunity they can bring to me. And, growing up, our family was Georgia fans, so it just feels like it's right. I've been to Georgia 3 times last month, and every time was just number love. So.
It seems like they're recruiting you for versatility. What did the coaches tell you about how you could help Georgia across their defense?
Well, yeah, definitely. At first, they wanted me as an edge rusher, pass rush, and they dropping a couple coverages at times. But, I was with Coach Smart, and he told me that I can actually play inside backer too. They might build me up and do what I got to do. And, with things like that, say we're playing a straight run offense team, smash my team, so they'll put me inside. So they like the versatility that I got.
We were talking, and you said you felt like you really had to earn that Georgia offer. Why do you feel that way?
Going in, they really didn't know much about me. I didn't have any film. I didn't have anything like that.
Who else is in it right now for you, CJ?
Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Colorado, and Washington State.
So what do you think is the biggest thing the month of June taught you?
June was a very good month for me. And, I think that it just came down to, just putting myself out there for the college coach to see me and see what I can go through. Drill, things like that. So.
How did Georgia make you feel on that last visit right before the dead period started up again?
I felt very special. I'm not gonna lie. I was the only person there. They treated my family with a lot of, a lot of my family was there, so they treated them just as much as they'll treat me. So, I really liked it.
Do you know who you're going to go see in July?
I think I'm going to UCF. And whatever comes up, I think I might go out to UGA again. I know I want to get out to Georgia Tech, so yeah.
Have the commitments started working on you yet? Guys like the Nyland Morissette, Jalen Walker, have they started working on you yet?
Yeah, Jalen Walker, we he hit me up a couple times, you know what I'm saying, go dogs, things like that. You know, Denarland, you know, he texted me a few times, things like that. So, yeah, the commitments are definitely, you know, coming at me.
What does it feel like, man, how much your life has changed with 30 pounds and new film and camp workouts? Does it feel like your stock has just shot up?
Yeah, my stock definitely did shoot up. But, you know, I knew it was going to come eventually. You know, just me just stand down and continue to put in work. So, you know, I feel like I earned it. You know, all praise to the Most High. So,
Carlton Madden, hey, CJ, man, thanks for taking some time today.
Definitely appreciate it.
All right, guys, there you go. We have had a active Wednesday Night Live. We're actually live. If you guys are joining us right now, we're live for the first time on the DawgNation homepage, DawgNation.com. Of course, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Twitch. You can also, when this show ends, you can find this show will become a podcast. The Before the Hedges podcast will be available on Spotify, the Apple Podcast platform, SoundCloud, all of your favorite vendors and everything else like that. I want to say hello. Hey, Danny Blackman, I'm actually watching your comment right now on YouTube. But that's right there, guys, is Carlton Madden, CJ Madden. Interesting. Now let's kind of break down this interview right now a little bit. I thought it was interesting that he said he would not make a silent commitment. He said that you know, there's coming if you guys have been following us on forum.dawgnation.com, probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, I've heard where recruits are hearing something to the extent of, you know, spots are tight, and there's Georgia's trying to you know, tell guys you're in if you want to be in this class, but if not, spots will certainly kind of fill up. So, you know, I think that's happening. I thought it was interesting that Carlton Madden Jr. did not feel like he was needed to be expedient in order to either A, make a silent commit, or B, make a silent commit, or B, just kind of secure his spot in the class. You know, Tony, and I see some people are all talking about 3-star, 5-star. Guys, you just got to throw everything away in terms of a rating for CJ Madden. CJ Madden hasn't played varsity football since he was in 2019. At that point, he was a sophomore. And then he weighed about 170, 175 pounds. The thing that's striking about me is let's call him what he is. He's probably a mid 4-star, something to that extent. He's 6'3", he's about 245. I saw him work. I didn't know he was really quite the athlete that he was. CJ Madden is working as a tight end for Cedar Grove in a lot of 7-on-7 concepts and a lot of 7-on-7 packages. He is a great natural pass rusher. If I had to think about what I feel is probably his best tool, it's probably going to be his pass rush. He can really come screaming in off the edge. He's actually a fine athlete. I saw him, you know, those ball shoots that quarterbacks like to fire balls in after practice or before practice. And I saw this, you know, 6'3 1/4", 240-pound defensive end. I think I saw him hit the basket and thread it from about 15 yards out. I think I saw him do that about 7 times out of 10. Actually worked out at inside linebacker and outside linebacker with both Coach Glenn Schumann and Coach Dan Lanning. One of the things that he told you on that interview that he thought was maybe he increased his value with Georgia is he has the ability to play inside. He has the ability to play an outside linebacker. And he also has the ability to put his hand on the ground and be a defensive end as well. Kind of got some, you know, from a lot of guys that have seen him and worked with him, there are a lot of kind of Brenton Cox-ish type qualities to his game. And I'm not saying he's a 5-star like Brenton Cox was, because Brenton Cox was a little bit bigger. And I think Brenton Cox had a lot more film and a kind of a deeper bag of pass rush moves in his repertoire. But CJ Madden grew up a Georgia fan in a family of Georgia fans. Georgia was his dream school, and it certainly seems like Georgia is really doing all the right things right now in terms of that recruitment. And so, guys, there's a good chance. There's a good kind of a window into all things. Carlton, CJ Madden Jr. Carlton can actually dance the Carlton, if you were wondering that. I know I am when I talk to these young men. I think anybody that's got a first name Carlton and a last name Madden better be good at John Madden, Madden 21 or Madden 22. And he also better be able to do the Carlton and Carlton Madden. CJ Madden said he was also adept at both. Let me do this. I'm gonna do one half of this on this week's show. and the other half of this on next week's show to kind of give you guys a good idea of kind of what I'm thinking and what I'm hearing and seeing with this class. We're going to do something called over-unders. And everybody knows what over-unders are. I don't think I have to think I have to explain them. This is not a Florida Gator Nation type website where I would have to explain what an over-under means. But so the thing we're looking at here is I'm going to give you I'm going to just say this. This is the first topic. I think this is a way to draw everyone in. I'm going to set a number, and this is what I feel will be eventually the number of a good indicator of the number of 5-stars that eventually sign with Georgia in this class. First of all, I would welcome your own suggestions about the number of 5-stars in this class. If you guys were setting the over-under on the number of 5-stars in this class, now remember, Georgia currently only has one 5-star commitment at this time. What number would you guys go with? I'll give you guys a chance to maybe filter in your thoughts and on this. But I think the number that I am looking at right now is the number I would say my over under would be 4. And so you got a chance there to say I'm going to set the bar. I'm going to set the bar at 4.5. This will sound like Vegas, 4.5. Here's the question now. How many, with a bar set at 4.5 for over under, how many of you guys out there think that Georgia will clear the bar and go over that number of 5-stars? How many of you guys think will go under that number of 5-stars? I'm gonna let a couple of your thoughts trickle in. Again, we got 4.5 is the number that has been set by our entertainment for tonight. That would be myself. The number is 4.5. Currently, Georgia has one 5-star commitment in Malachi Starks. Here's the potential for everybody probably wants to know, hey, let me see your homework a little bit, Jeff. So Georgia has the ability to add Kamari Wilson. Georgia has the ability to add Keon Sabb. Georgia has the ability to add Jaheim Singletary. Georgia has the ability to welcome into the class Dayon Bowie. They have the ability also to add Travis Shaw out of North Carolina and also Walter Nolan out of Tennessee. And there's also the case that maybe Georgia, one of Georgia's current commitments, kind of like Jalen Walker, or maybe a future commitment gets a bump because Branson Robinson is kind of just right there on the periphery of being, I think he's the number 41, number 42 overall prospect right now in the 24/7 Sports Composite. So I think that's given me enough chance to kind of talk it out right now. So my vote, and I set the number at 4.5, is I think the number will go under. Randy Hall, good question. Tyler Booker is not a 5-star. Kind of in that number 45, number 44, that type of range, kind of where Jalen Walker is right now as well, kind of where a potential commitment like Branson Robinson is as well. So that, my friends, my feeling as I went under 4.5, because I think that number is probably going to be somewhere around 3 or 4, especially given what we're looking at, what we're seeing at this time, even with some class re-ranks. Got another topic here, and this will be much easier to roll out and kind of fire out here. Over under the number of offensive linemen Georgia signs in this class. My number that I'm establishing for the party game tonight is 4. That's the number I would probably say would be a good over under for the number of offensive linemen Georgia signs in this class. And I'm curious to see what all you guys think. Would you guys go over the number of 4 or under the number of 4? Got some guys coming in. Dysom 31, Connor Graham, Scott Barnes. Randy Hall wants a Peaches sighting. He wants to know if Peaches is going to get her 5th star as well. Randy Hall. I think Peaches had more than a guest starring role or more than a contributing best supporting actress role in last week's show. We might let her be off in a. We may let her be on vacation this week. So the number we said offensive linemen, Lysa Allen, Steve, Jeremy Barbary, Mr. Mills. I see that. The number I set for the number of offensive linemen Georgia signs in this class was 4. I'm going under on that one as well because I think that Georgia's going to sign 3. I think that's the number of offensive linemen they're going to sign in this class. I don't even think they need to sign 3. I think 2 would be a number they could live with, especially if they could add another wide receiver, if they could add another outside linebacker, defensive line type there, cornerback, safety type. I think the priority there is not to load up with the offensive line guys in this class at offensive line. I got a third one and a final one for this class for this week's show. We're going to go over under kind of a lot over the next few weeks of the summer here. But over under here, it would be the number of wide receivers Georgia signs in this class. But I've got a different way to spin this. This would be the number right now of top 150 overall receivers Georgia signs in this class. I think Georgia's going to sign about 3 to 4. They'd love to get the right 4, but the over-under here I'm looking at for the wide receiver position is the number of top 150 overall receivers Georgia signs in this class, and the number that I will contribute here to the discussion is 2. Do you guys think Georgia goes over the number of top 150 overall prospects at receiver, or they go under the number of top 150 overall prospects at receiver? Curious to see what everybody's going there. Johnny Webster says 3. DeMont Smith says under. Connor Graham, that's a good point. Both of those are good points because it is dependent on how well Georgia plays this season. I'm gonna kind of think glass half full here with my equation, and I would say Georgia gets 1,000-yard receiver. Georgia gets 4,000, 3,500, 4,000 yards passing from JT Daniels. This is one thing I hope everybody understands because I see a lot of this out there. For instance, if JT Daniels throws for 3,900 yards this fall, that's the most a Georgia quarterback has ever thrown for, more than Eric Zier, more than Aaron Murray. I think Georgia's only had 2 quarterbacks ever go over 3,600 yards ever. One of those was Zier. One of those was Aaron Murray as well. And then also, you hear a lot of 40 touchdowns. You see a lot of 40 touchdowns. I don't think the Georgia record is not even 40 touchdowns. So you're asking about JT Daniels for a lot of these 4,000 yards and 40 touchdown seasons that everybody is kind of hypothesizing and encapsulating. They're really pontificating that JT Daniels will be the most prolific touchdown arm and also the most prolific passing arm in Georgia history. For the example here that we're talking about with wide receivers and what I'm forecasting is top 150 signees, I guess I would probably have to say Georgia goes under because I think the number would probably be right at 2. It won't go. It would be kind of a push, so I would go under 2 or under. Probably, the names. I want to make sure. See, this is a good device I can use to kind of just talk out things. Of course, Georgia just offered a young man who immediately put Georgia in his top 8. That's Jaden Gibson out of the state of Florida. Both of his parents went to Florida. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But he was 6'6". He dazzled at the opening. You've got Andre Green Jr. Guys, I hope you read the story I wrote. I think it was last week about Andre Green Jr. That young man is wired, extremely wired for success. Let me quickly see who's paying attention. So I'm going to tell you a little quick story about Andre Green Jr. We're going to try to get him on in maybe a few weeks or so. But Andre Green Jr. First of all, he's 6'3". He's got these sick highlight catches. He's 6'3". He's fast. He gave Georgia his first official visit. Feels like Georgia's in a race there and a chase there with, I think, North Carolina. Clemson is in the mix there as well. But certainly the thing that sticks out to me about Andre Green Jr. is just his competitiveness and just the way he approaches his craft and his business. I told a story with our Andre Green Jr. profile of how he likes to play the game Connect Four with his father. Yeah, that's that old school, Connect Four, put the dot, you get 4 in a row, you win. Well, it is insanely competitive between him and his father, Andre Green Jr., to the extent that they play like 5 games every night. And Andre, you got to like this about AG Jr. right here. What he does is he keeps a tally of the wins and losses on his phone, on the notepads, on the note options on his phone. I think he's somewhere, 494 by now to 430 by now. He says his dad tries to cheat him on a lot of those guys. Tries to cheat him on a lot of those matches. That's why he has to keep a running tally on his phone. He usually wins about 3 or 4 out of the 5 every night. Something to think about there for Andre Green Jr. As we established, there's Dylan Bell. That's a young man out of Texas that recently picked up a lot of steam with Georgia. Things have happened since the last time we spoke. Let me quickly recap those on Wednesday Night Live. Before the Hedges, Kojo Antwi commits to Ohio State. I didn't feel like that was a shock, especially when I kind of listened to him articulate how impressive that Ohio State visit was for him. Also, Shalik Knotts, that was a name out of North Carolina. A lot of people were focusing on as a potential wide receiver target for Georgia in this class. I just never really thought Shalik Knotts was a really good fit. He named his top 3 this past weekend and or over the last week or so. Georgia did not make it. Tennessee did. I think it was Tennessee, Maryland, and North Carolina, I believe, there for his final 3. And then another name that came off the board was Emory Floyd. Emory was kind of flirting with Georgia and Florida pretty hard, but he felt like the most genuine love was coming from South Carolina, and that's where he committed to over the last 7 days. Emory Floyd, this speedster out of Hillgrove High School in Powder Springs, Georgia, chose South Carolina over the last week as well. That's a really good start in a couple topics we wanted to get into tonight on Before the Hedges. But as always, let's take a knee. Let's unbuckle our chin strap. Let's think about great groceries. Let's think about big savings. And let's think about those fine folks at Kroger. Here's a word. Here's a special message from Kroger.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but first, a quick word from Kroger. Kroger has made shopping for the groceries and household essential items that you need even easier by offering free pickup. Just shop online, choose a pickup time convenient for you, and Kroger will carefully pick out your order and bring it to your vehicle when you arrive. So the next time you're ready to shop at Kroger, take advantage of the free pickup. It's just another way that Kroger is fresh for everyone.
All right, guys, who watches that Kroger ad every week? And, you talk about subliminal advertising. I see that hanging basket in the back of that van. And I think of my mom and my grandma all the time because that's what they would come back with. They would come back with hanging baskets of flowers. And hopefully get some rain, kind of like the state of Georgia got some rain tonight. That's what I think of. And I guess sometimes it also makes me think it's time to go get some more flowers for my lovely wife. So that's what I think of when I see that Kroger ad each and every week. And I finally verbalized what I was thinking right there. Moving right along, we've got the top targets. Clarence Dawson says it's a shame that Georgia's losing the homegrown recruits. Kojo's a great player, and I'm not gonna, basically hit the reverse button and think that, try to soften the blow because he's a great player. And I don't think Georgia has a lot of players quite like him, the skill set. But I think a lot of people, especially the colleges that got to see him, I thought that a lot of people thought that they were expecting Kojo to be 6'1" or 6'2", and really he's more like 5'11". And I think that adds to the evaluation, especially when you see what he's able to do in the frame, and you see what a guy like Andre Green Jr. can do, and now Jaden Gibson can do, and basically a lot of the skills there are kind of similar to Denylon Morissette. Denylon Morissette, the steadfast commitment in this Georgia class is, kind of basically the same size, a little bit bigger, a little bit more polish on him, I feel, as a wide receiver. But then Kojo Antwi has the really pure, true game-breaking, sensational type skills he's going to have to develop at the next level. And he's going to do that at Ohio State with a lot of great other guys he has to compete with there. And I certainly wish the best for Kojo Antwi. But looking at Kevin Flutie has a question about Evan Stewart. I just saw that one as I'm going to transition. I haven't put, Kevin, Evan Stewart in my list in quite a while. I think there's a lot of things Georgia has to overcome. You talk about a lot of players where, Georgia would have to really start putting up those season career marks, from JT Daniels' arm and, guys like Jermaine Burton and Eric Gilbert. I think that's what's going to have to happen to really even turn the head of Evan Stewart, because I don't think he's really looking at Georgia. And, one of the things I've shared on the show is, his wide receiver coach, a really, really great guy, very impressive, one of probably the best wide receiver trainers in the country out of Texas. He had the same one of his pupils was also Tommy Bush, and he's been training Evan Stewart for the last 2 years. And I think if Georgia would have done a better job with the development of Tommy Bush, I think that would have helped Georgia's chances with Evan Stewart as well. Taking a look at this is our version 7.1. This is the first one in July. We've got 12 names this week. Let's start with Jaheim Singletary out of Robert E. Lee. That's an Ohio State commitment. Number 11 is Keon Sabb out of IMG Academy. If we had to be honest, it kind of feels like Georgia has kind of lost some steam, just a little bit of steam there with Keon Sabb. Number 10 is five-star athlete Dayon Bowie out of Bainbridge. I think Mr. Bowie is going to be doing a lot of looking around Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida State. I do think there is still some pull and some ties there with Georgia and Dayon Bowie. That relationship with Kirby, of course. Kirby Smart, of course, also is out of Bainbridge. That was Kirby Smart's alma mater. He's known Dayon for forever, it seems like, or it sounds like. That's why I think Georgia still got a shot there with Dayon Bowie, and also the fact that Georgia and its cornerback room, he knows how well it would set up for him. Number 9, that's a young man, C.J. Madden. We just interviewed at the top of our hour of our show. C.J. Madden out of Cedar Grove, Ellenwood, Georgia. He is going to make his decision known on September the 18th. And ideally, I think a lot of Georgia fans, wouldn't that be interesting? Here's one thing I think that would be pretty cool. I know there's some what might wonder if the Georgia staff would ever approve of it because it would take away from a game day on a Saturday. But probably one of the coolest things that I haven't seen done yet in the recruiting industry is for a recruit to be on campus, and maybe it's the fourth quarter and, the Georgia Bulldogs are pulling away, but how cool would that be for a young man to just sit there and maybe go live inside Sanford Stadium off their Instagram and commit in like the recruiting bleachers in the middle of the stadium and something like that? I think that would be something that you want to talk about a decision that folks will remember for all time. Can you imagine somebody committing inside Sanford Stadium amongst a bunch of other commitments in that west end zone while Georgia's, leading an SEC opponent big in the fourth quarter? I think that would be a raucous way for someone to begin their career as a Georgia Bulldog. I think everybody would remember the young man that committed in the middle of the stadium. Number 8, Tyler Booker. You hear a lot of things with Tyler Booker. I think it's going to be either Georgia, Florida, or Alabama. Georgia has a deep connection there to Tyler Booker, and for my sake, the way I look and evaluate things, if Matt Luke and the Georgia offensive line staff, including Coach Eddie Gordon, if Georgia can sign Tyler Booker in this class, I think that's going to be some of the finest work that Matt Luke has ever done, because getting another top 40, top 50 overall prospect like Tyler Booker to come to Athens and play for the Bulldogs when that room is as stacked as it is, that's some mighty hefty lifting on the recruiting trail. Number 7, Walter Nolan, St. Benedict in Auburndale in Cordova, Tennessee. He's taken a couple of visits to Georgia of late, especially in the month of June. I think things are going pretty well there, as well as it could be for Georgia right now with Walter Nolan. Of course, Alabama's in the mix. Florida's in the mix. It seems like a lot of times, Walter is enjoying the recruiting process. It would be interesting to see how much longer he takes things, and it will be very interesting to see if Walter Nolan gives a third trip to the University of Georgia in the month of July. As you guys have known by now, the month of July is dead, except for a few days at the end of the month when every recruit in the country is going to try and see about 2 or 3 schools again. Number 6, he wears number 6. That's Andre Green Jr. He's going to, whichever school he chooses, he's going to try and put a lot of 6 points on the scoreboard multiple times. Andre Green Jr., he's a great basketball player. He runs track. Should Andre Green Jr. choose the Georgia Bulldogs or any school, he's told me that he will not be an early enrollee. He wants to enjoy his high school experience. A young man, Danny Dennis Sutton out of McDonough, Owings Mills, Maryland. Excuse me. I want to make sure I get this right. So you guys, I know I've said this name on the show a lot. His name is actually Dennis Sutton. So if you want to sound like the really articulate fella, at the tailgate or at the water cooler when it comes time to talk about Georgia football and Georgia football recruiting. Just think about this is the mnemonic. This is the trick you need in your brain. You want to think deny the ball carrier on 4th down, or denied Florida a chance to reach the end zone on a key 4th down play, or that's the mnemonic. It's deny Dennis Sutton. I think the word I would use to describe deny Dennis Sutton is relentless. I've heard that used over and over. Listen to folks evaluate him and share their takes on his game. He, guys, is his final 3 for the longest time has been Penn State, Alabama, and Georgia. To me, it seems like it's really a Penn State, Georgia type decision there. He's making his decision on January the 22nd. Number 4 on the list is Travis Shaw. And if somebody wanted to get in an arm wrestling contest and they wanted to say, Jeff, Travis Shaw needs to be number 1 or at least a little bit higher, I certainly wouldn't disagree, but I still think Georgia has a little bit more work to do there with Travis Shaw. I think it's really Georgia and North Carolina inside his final 4. Got some online chat. I want to show you something that Jalen Walker tweeted out a little bit later on our show, if you guys haven't had a chance to see that. Number 3 is Oscar Delp. And folks, you want to talk about a recruiting border battle. Well, that's Oscar Delp. Everybody, if you don't know the family story of Oscar Delp, let me catch it up. He's got a lot of South Carolina fans in his family. He's got a beautiful kind of family mansion that I think his uncle currently stays in the Columbia, South Carolina area. He has other members of his family. A member of his family that went and played for Clemson. His mom graduated from South Carolina, and really it's kind of Georgia, kind of Michigan, Clemson. He's going to visit Clemson and go to its cookout in July to see Clemson again. I want to make sure Michigan is in that as well. Michigan, Georgia, Florida, kind of in there a little bit for him as well. But Oscar Delp, you see this Delp is a dog hashtag, and you see that we want Delp hashtag from, I guess, Gamecock Nation. Now they're really trying to prioritize Oscar Delp as perhaps the crown jewel in their class for the class of 2022. And then also you have Clemson in there as well, also kind of feeling the same way about Oscar Delp. I think this goes without saying, but I want you guys to remember this with Delp. So Delp is kind of like all or nothing for Georgia at the tight end spot. There's really not been any other tight ends that Georgia has recruited or tried to recruit in the 2022 class. Should Georgia miss or whiff on Delp, I don't think they'll sign a tight end in this class. The only reason Georgia is recruiting Oscar Delp is because he's just that special of a fit for the Georgia offense, that skill set where Georgia's going to have to take a guy like that in every class if they check all the boxes that Oscar Delp does: size, speed, physicality, the way he blocks out on the perimeter, the way he gets yards after the catch. Oscar Delp is and you think about it, there's not a lot of guys like him. I think his ratings have dipped to the nation's number 3 tight end in the country. I don't think folks need to worry about that in terms of a rating or his ability not being what others had made it out to be. But really the only tight end in the country, I think, that would push Georgia's tight end room with Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington. John Fitzpatrick is, he has a couple of years of eligibility left as well, but you start looking at the guys that can push that group. Rylan Godey's still in that room. Brett Seither's still in that room. Reed Gilbert might play a little bit at tight end, but you hear a lot that he's basically just being trained as an X receiver, working as an X receiver for Georgia. I really think, Delp's kind of basically the only guy that can push for playing time in that room in the 2022 cycle. So I guess that's probably a good reason why Todd Hartley's only recruiting Oscar Delp in 2022. Number 2 is Kamari Wilson out of IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida. I always get a lot of messages about Kamari because it felt like a lot of folks were thinking, indicating that Kamari was going to make a decision in mid-June. And he's decided to kind of keep looking. He's decided he wants to enjoy the recruiting process. Kamari is being heavily recruited by Texas A&M and LSU and also Florida, and then also University of Miami. Kamari Wilson is he's doing a slow kind of release of his top schools. I don't know if we've seen this a lot, but he's kind of releasing his top schools one by one across his social media. we haven't seen before. Number one on the list, another guy that I think his official decision is down to Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. Those were the three schools that he got official visits in for the month of June. And he will make his decision on July the 22nd. And what a noble cause that is for Branson Robinson. He's going to honor his slain uncle on his birthday. I always want to keep his thoughts. He will always want to keep his uncle's memory burning bright. And I think that's a fine way to do it, is to make his commitment on his uncle's birthday as well. You guys saw DawgNation.com today. I had a story where you guys got to hear about it first before a lot of people got to on DawgNation.com. Last week, our special interview package was with Jordan James. And he kind of said that the dog way or no way, and kind of shared his thoughts about Branson Robinson as really the guy everybody wants to see in the Georgia class to run with him. Second chapter of our kind of weekly table stakes. I'm going to roll through 9 other names that I think that are pertinent to Georgia's recruiting class. The first of those is Luther Burden out of East St. Louis in East St. Louis, Illinois. 5-star wide receiver. Georgia got a visit, and I think now Georgia's got to kind of walk the walk and show Luther that the offense is going to be a lot more prolific and is going to be the type of place for the nation's number one receiver. Feels like Alabama, Missouri, Oklahoma, Georgia, those are the schools to watch there. Luther Burden, let's remember, folks, he is still currently committed to Oklahoma, and that's why a fellow like me is not going overboard and putting him in the top targets list yet. Dylan Bell, we mentioned him out of Kincaid in Houston, Texas. He's a 3-star guy that's shown a lot of potential. He camped at a lot of places in June, and he saw his stock go up. 5-star Dalen Everett, Georgia, North Carolina, Clemson. Those are the schools there for Dalen Everett, another 5-star corner. 3-star offensive tackle Jacob Hood. He gave official visits to Georgia and Miami in the class during the also visited Auburn during the month of June. I think he's probably going to make his decision sometime in September, before his senior season. Amari Kelly is out of Hewitt-Trussville not Trussville, Georgia, Trussville, Alabama. If your guys clicked well with Nylan Morissette, clicked well with Malachi Starks. Amari Kelly is also in the state of Alabama and is also being recruited by Alabama as well. Addison Nichols out of Greater Atlanta Christian. We've mentioned his name a lot. The Eagle Scout, the Black Belt, the Kroger employee. He took a big round of visits, and he spent last weekend, I think, vacationing with his girlfriend. So good for him. He sounds like he's got this whole recruiting visits and the summer calendar figured out. Another name I think Georgia fans should know about is Jake Pope. Jake Pope is out of Buford High School in Buford, Georgia. Man, he's down to North Carolina, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia. Such a loaded option there. A lot of offers, a lot of potential there for Jake Pope. I think Georgia's got a really strong plan about how they want to use Jake Pope, perhaps on both sides of the ball. Jake Pope is a guy that certainly has great film, great character. There's a lot to like about that young man. Shamar Stewart, that's a name we're kind of just going to park here in the names to know. Sounds like Miami is really coming on strong there for Shamar Stewart. He did have a great visit to Georgia in the month of June as well. And then another guy, 4-star edge, Janai White. I think if he hasn't done it yet today, he's probably within the next 24 hours going to drop his top 4. He's going to have Georgia, Penn State, I believe Alabama, Texas A&M. Those schools will be in the running there for Janai White. Excuse me, not Penn State. Ohio State will be that other Big Ten school there for Janai White out of Emmetep Charter. And that's the same high school that produced Tyke Smith. Timelines for 2022 targets. There's actually one coming up tomorrow, Jeremiah Alexander. That's the 5-star linebacker out of Thompson High School in Alabaster, Alabama. Clemson, Alabama's kind of felt that way for the longest. Feels like it's going to come down tomorrow to between Clemson and Alexander. July 22nd, 4-star running back Branson Robinson, that's scheduled. July 22nd, also 4-star defensive end Dennis Sutton. Should those two probably go ahead and regard Carolina boys right there? That was a shout out to Jalen Walker and also a shout out to Travis Shaw. Now you see this other hashtag happening here, which is hashtag Shaw Dog. You see that there with the recent tweet from also one from Jordan Davis, and then also one from Jalen Walker. I want you to see. Yeah, Jalen Walker. That's his tweet right there. We saw the one from Jordan Davis. Athens takes care of them North Carolina boys. Push up, and then the one from Jalen Walker about how they're kind of lined up together deep. And you look at that emoji game he's got going on right there as well. It's interesting that Jalen Walker used those two emojis right there. Let me see Jaden Gibson. That's the 6'5", 6'6" receiver out of Florida. Both of his parents went to Florida. He recently just dropped this afternoon his top 8. Here's his top 8 edit right here. Jaden has Florida State. He has now Georgia. It was a top 7. But then he made it a top 8 because Georgia just offered him, I believe it was on Monday or Tuesday of this week. And that's how quickly a top 7 becomes a top 8. A lot of good schools in there, a lot of in-state schools there as well. But Georgia has quickly became a candidate for Jaden Gibson as well. Let me see. You've seen, I think you've got Baylor, Auburn, Florida State, Tennessee. I think those are mostly the schools there to look at there for Jaden Gibson. Let me see what else. You've seen the Ben Cleveland tweet, the Jordan Davis tweet, and you've seen the Instagram from Kamari Wilson. Guys, that's it. That's all the online chatter we want to bring to your attention for this week. Steve Walden makes a point about Jordan James and Branson Robinson would be a nice 1-2 punch. I'd certainly agree with you there. I think that's what Dell McGee thinks as well. I think that's what Dell McGee has thought, the Georgia ace recruiter and very highly respected running backs coach. He's kind of thought that way for a lot of times. I see some folks are having some issues with the connection. Let me see. But Bank 6 is doing leg curls at the gym. What's up, man? Hope you make sure you stretch afterward and make sure you hydrate afterward. Let me see. We got lots of folks tuning in. You guys got a quick question? Anything you guys want to talk about? How'd you guys like those over-unders? You guys like those over-unders? What do you see what the defensive over-unders look like as well? Let me see. What else can I? You sit there and you roll through the class. You've got Georgia will sign 1 quarterback in this class. That will be Branson Robinson. The hope is Georgia can sign 2 running backs. The quarterback is going to be Gunnar Stockton. The running backs the ideal pairing for Georgia would be Branson Robinson and Gunnar Stockton. No, it would be Branson Robinson and Jordan James. See what I do when I try to read 3 things at the same time? Sometimes all of us have trouble multitasking as well. Currently, Georgia has 1 wide receiver in the class. That's Denalyn Morissette. I think they would like to add up to 2 or 3 more for a class of 4 or 3 wide receivers. And guys, the main thing I want to do is I want to say thanks to everybody for joining us. We're trying to flap our wings. We're trying to grow. We're trying to build and raise for the 2021 season because we think it's going to be a special season here around DawgNation. And that's why we're trying to do all these new things. Props to Michael Carvel he's like, basically we get our pre-show meeting and he's like, hey man, let's do this. Let's put the show on the homepage today. Let's see if we can do this. And waves his magic Harry Potter wand and tries to make it all work. So you guys, if you haven't done so yet, kind of one of our other amazing things on our show tonight is we have found a way to stream this program or any program. You'll be able to see any of our programs coming up in the future. The Cover 4 Lives, Brandon's DawgNation Daily, Connor in coverage, Mike's on the beat with Mike Griffith. Everybody give him a welcome back for him coming back from a very hard-earned and well-earned vacation. Mike's back in the rotation for us now, but I'm sure you guys will all be glad to hear from Mike again this week as well. But hey, that's a pretty big deal. We were able to stream DawgNation, DawgNation's streaming programs, which is, kind of limited a few platforms. Now we've got it on what we kind of feel is the biggest platform of all, which is our homepage. And I want to give a thanks again to Michael Carvel for making that happen as we continue to try and be bigger and better and badder and hunker down even more for all you guys in 2021, especially with this big season coming up. Has everybody gotten on the bus yet for the for the DawgNation VIP experience. Those tickets are going fast. I think we've got a lot of demand for that thing. It seems like everybody's ready to get back and tailgating and going to a big time Saturday college football game again in the South between two top 5 teams. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you guys like the over-unders. I'm always sitting there trying to, throw new things and bring new things to our show. You guys also got to hear from CJ Madden Jr. as well of Cedar Grove High School. That's a guy that's certainly made his way up the board for the University of Georgia over the last couple of months. Guys, I'm Jeff Sentell. I want to thank you guys for all joining us here on another edition of Before the Hedges. Remember, thanks to Kroger, you guys can also find this show on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on SoundCloud, Spotify, the Apple podcast platform. Thanks to everybody that's getting in their workouts during the show. I've got to go get on the bike and get my work in for tonight as well. Junior Baker, thanks for that as well. Hope everybody has themselves a good week. And I sincerely thank you guys for joining us for another edition of Before the Hedges. You guys could be anywhere, but you chose to be here again for another Wednesday night. And for that, it certainly means a whole lot to me. Hope it meant a lot to you as well here on Wednesday night. We'll see everybody again on the pages of DawgNation.com. I'm Jeff Sentell. Peace. We'll see everybody later.